Sam, hey, welcome back to San Jose. I know we've seen you several times here already this summer before, but now that we're starting to get into playing games and the Rookie Faceoff tournament this weekend, Sharks, Kings, and Ducks and all their youngest players, what do you hope to see this weekend? What do you hope to get out of this weekend?
Yeah, I think just another opportunity to, show my abilities, what I can do on the ice. Obviously my end goal is, from training camps to make the team. So, just another opportunity for me to show what I've got. So
it's an interesting camp. You want to do well there, and you obviously want the chance to make the Sharks roster. And there's that weird 9-game window. Everybody's going to talk about that too. How do you just hope this season gets off to a start for you? How do you hope it gets out of the gate? And what can you show at the beginning of a season, do you think, from a personal perspective?
Yeah, I think just, my confidence as a person and on the ice especially, going out there and not trying to make plays or, not being confident on the ice with the puck or anything like that, that's not going to help me do anything. So, definitely, again, something I'm going to try to, build off from the next couple of days and, just kind of take that forward to start the season as well. There
is a weird thing of trying really not to overdo it, right? I mean, staying within yourself is probably harder than it actually sounds, to some degree.
Yeah, definitely. It's a high stakes, high pressure, environment here. You've got a lot of pressure on yourself, and even outside pressure to compete and play well and all those things. So it's definitely you got to find the right balance of confidence and also not trying to do too much, like you said.
We haven't really talked since the Sharks added some veteran depth on the blue line and Orlov and Klingberg, and it's going to be nice to be surrounded by some veterans of that ilk, right? I mean, young guy coming into the league, and you can probably take away a lot of things from a lot of different people, but nice to have those firsthand.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, like you said, guys who have played hundreds of games in the NHL. So I mean, not many better guys you could learn from. Trying to like crack into the NHL and that kind of thing. So definitely, I'm hoping that I can definitely pick their brains and kind of learn lots and take things that I see from them.
This rookie team that's going to represent the Sharks in SoCal, it's obviously not the Sharks roster, but there still should be a team element, right? And there still should be some camaraderie with this young group. Are you part of setting a tone, or are there other guys that are part of just, keeping it loose, keeping it light, and making sure that everybody's on the same page?
Yeah, I guess, but I think it'll come organically. When you're at an event like this and going there, it's about as close to the professional level as you can get. So, I think in that sense, a lot of things come organically with how a team gels and the chemistry that comes from who you're playing with and that kind of thing. So, I think a big thing will just be letting it ride kind of thing, and just letting everything happen the way it does.
You may have heard me ask Luca this question a moment ago, but I got to ask you the same thing. You're in the same position, literally being a defenseman, a young defenseman trying to crack the NHL. I think I've seen it's harder for a D to do it than a forward to do it. No disrespect, but I don't know if it's responsibility, it's a toughness of the position. Do you feel like there is some part of that, at least you realize that?
Yeah, I think, obviously I probably got a little bias towards that, but, I definitely think it's probably a little harder. Obviously, I think the responsibilities are a little higher, and, I think another thing is, there's a lot less spots to, crack into.
That's right. Just numerically, there's less opportunity, right?
Right. Yeah. So I think, there's a lot of, little things like that. And again, I might be a little biased towards it, but, I definitely say, from the responsibility and, just the position and everything like that, I think it's definitely maybe a little bit harder.
What sets you up to have a good camp here? And obviously we'll talk about trying to get on the opening night roster, but what sets you up just to have a really good training camp with the Sharks?
Yeah, I think like I said before, just the confidence piece. Just going out there and not trying to play a game that's not me. Just sticking to what's got me here and what's gotten me success before. So I think that'll be a big thing. Just sticking to how I play and who I am.
So you're wearing number 6 this year, correct?
Yes.
All right. I've got to break out a little honesty here. I've never done anything hockey-wise in my life, but I've always claimed number 6 on the Sharks because not a lot of Sharks have worn that number 6. Now, do you think you'll always stick with 6, or do you think you might change if there's a different opportunity? I don't want to get too far down the line. Do you like 6?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good number. I don't know if it looks too good on me, but it looks good on some other guys. But in terms of if I'm going to stick with it, it's my number for now. So I'll let the potential number change come if it happens. And I guess we'll see.
What I'm trying to say is in my fantasy world, that would have been my number. And you're so you're taking it, but guess what? I'm really cool with that. You're a guy that I would want to take that number. So there's a weird sense of I want you to have that.
Then I guess I'll keep it just for you. I'll keep number 6 for as long as I can.
People are cringing at this interview right now. They're like, how's this guy telling this to a real Sharks player? Anyway, Sam, appreciate the conversation. Best of luck this weekend in camp. We'll talk again and hope to see a lot this season.
Appreciate it. Thank you.